everyone, it's Judy Warner. Thanks for joining us for this bonus edition of the Ecosystem Podcast. Today, I'm pleased to have as my guest Pat Hindle, who is the media director for Signal Integrity Journal as well as Microwave Journal. Pat and his team put on a great show called EDI Con for Electronic Design Innovation Conference that will be held online in mid-October, and I wanted to tell you all about it because I think there's some great content and speakers there you'll want to tap into. Make sure you go check out the show notes when you're done. I've put all this information for you of how to register, how to connect with Signal Integrity Journal, and of course the ecosystem. Thanks so much for joining us. Now let's jump into our conversation with Pat Hindle. Hi, Pat. Thanks so much for joining us today and giving us a little sneak peek of EDI Con.
It's glad to be with you. For once, I'm on the other side of the end here. I don't know what to do when I'm being asked the questions rather than asking them.
I know. Isn't it weird when that happens? Well, for our listeners and watchers, why don't you give a brief introduction of who you are and your background, and then we'll jump into EDI Con specifics.
Sure. I'm a media director at Microwave Journal and Signal Integrity Journal. So we have both, magazine and digital assets for both of them. Microwave Journal has been around for more than 65 years, and so it's a mainstay in the industry for high frequency design engineers. And then Signal Integrity Journal we launched maybe 5 or 6 years ago, and that's for high-speed digital engineers. So it focuses on interconnect design and caters to a lot of PCB designers. And I've been with the company for about 15 years, and my previous experience was in high-frequency electronics. Worked for some of the big companies like Skyworks, Raytheon, and Macom in the New England area. So that's kind of where I got my experience in the high-frequency world and went into marketing eventually, coming over to Microwave Journal about 15 years ago.
Amazing. Well, I've known you for a good chunk of that. It's been a fun journey you and I've had together. So let's talk about, you mentioned Signal Integrity Journal is more for interconnect professionals, and I know you cover signal integrity, power integrity, and EMI issues specifically. And, Eric Bogatin's your technical editor, along with a superstar technical editorial staff. So since this is a show that's related sort of to that publication, who should come and what do you think, what are the benefits of people attending that show specifically?
Yeah, so the focus is definitely for design engineers in both the high-speed digital realm and also high-frequency realm, so RF and microwave. The Signal Integrity Journal does cover those three subjects: power integrity, signal integrity, and EMC EMI topics. So a lot of it is on, very practical, how to design things, what are the effects that are important to take into account. Works, with simulation, testing, and practical design advice for PCB layout. And so that's who should come. I mean, that's generally the focus, but also, anyone involved in technical marketing in those areas or project management, anything that has anything to do with the technical side of it, definitely is worthwhile. And we also cover news and events and things like that. So it is more of a general audience of anybody involved in the industry, whereas the technical articles certainly are focused to the design engineer. And so the format of EDI Con is, I think is unique now. It kind of evolved from a physical event. Back in 2016, we started EDI Con USA after we had done EDI Con in China for a couple years in Beijing. Seemed like a successful format. And by the way, it stands for Electronic Design Innovation Conference. And we just shortened it to EDI Con. And we did the physical event for a few years, but it didn't seem like it was growing as fast as we had wanted. So we took it online in 2019, which was great timing because it was a year before COVID. So
Right.
we were a year ahead of the curve. Everybody else jumped online, the year after that, but we already had a year or two of experience. And, we found that online trade shows that have try to replicate the physical event really have a hard time, especially with the exhibition side. It's just so hard, almost impossible to recreate the exhibition. And everybody tried to force that into the online virtual events, and it did not work. Some people had walking avatars and other things happening, but it just does not work. So we decided to make this purely an online conference. And so the way it happens is we have invited talks, including a keynote, and we invite the best experts we can find to present. And then people can buy what we call workshops, and they give educational sessions that are related to their activities. So if you're a simulation company, you may give some simulation advice on how to approach a high-speed digital challenge. If you're a testing company, test equipment and how you address testing of different difficult to test circuits, and same thing with devices. Anybody who has, the latest devices that solve those problems. And so this seems to work very well, and that way, the sponsors do get something out of it because they get the attendee feedback, and we also have the invited talks that give you a general educational opportunity. So I think it's kind of the best of both worlds, and there's no online exhibition.
Well, and I like that it's over a month period too, so you don't have to try to cram everything like into one day. And I know that people that are busy doing their day-to-day job, right? They could just take a little chunk out of a week, and that's a lot less disruptive than
Yeah,
otherwise.
so when we first did it, we tried to do it 3 days in a row, and we tried that, and by the third day, there was nobody showing up. So we've been surveying the audience each year after the event, and we've been doing it enough years now that we've learned that we have separate days. Each day has a theme, or we call it a track, subject themes. And then we only do it every Wednesday in October this year, so we kind of spread it out once a week. We may even spread it out more next year and do once a quarter. And we also optimized around a 30-minute sessions. We asked everybody, hours seemed a little long, 30 minutes just right. Shorter than 30 minutes, you really can't get deep enough into the, subject matter to be worthwhile. So that's how we kind of have optimized this over the years, and I think it's, in a good position now.
So, as far as, and I think people get burned out, right?
Yeah.
I think we've all learned kind of as we go that people get burned out. Me too. I think, it's like we are all exhausted from our online, rat hole we've gone down in the last few years. So I think it's a good model. Can you go over the tracks, each track and what those technology focuses are for each track?
Sure. We have one day is the Signal Integrity, Power Integrity Day. Another one is 5G, Wi-Fi, and IoT. The third one is PCB Interconnect and EMC. And the last one will be Radar, Automotive, and SATCOM. And I think it'd be fun to highlight the kind of the keynote and principal talk with each one. So our first keynote for SIPI is GaN adoption, breaking down the barriers to widespread acceptance, by your friend who you just was on one of your podcasts, Alex Litto, CEO of EPC. So he's always fun to talk with and listen to. And the feature talk that day is given by Samtech. They're the sponsor for that track. Actually, they're a platinum sponsor. And they're giving design tips for power distribution networks, and that's by Isfan Novak, who's very, very well known in power integrity world. Then we have the next one is 5G, so it's a bright future for 5G, looking at trends in mobile communications. It's given by Chris Pearson. He's president of 5G Americas. And the following feature talk that day will be given by Dassault Systems, and that will be about 5G private networks, coverage and channel simulation in smart cities. And then the third day, we have, what they might not teach you in school, my top 20 rules for all engineers, given by our own Eric Bogatin. So he loves to have these, rules of thumb. They're very good for engineers to quickly know if, when they do a simulation or test, if they're in the ballpark of where they should be. And he really, stresses that that's a very important thing to do. And our featured talk that day is given by Altair. It'll be PCB verification for reliable and safe automotive electronics. And then finally, the last day is the keynote is Automotive Semiconductor Market Outlook, and goes over trends and challenges and opportunities, given by one of my good friends, Asif Anwar from Tech Insights, formerly Strategy Analytics. And then we have the featured talk given by ComSol, which is efficient radar and SATCOM modeling using finite element and boundary element methods. So I think it's really, we have some really good speakers this year. I think it's going to be a good event for everybody.
So, about how many people? Well, let me back up. When you have these sessions and these different workshops, are there opportunities for Q&A, or do they just, are you just respecting time and moving to the next track?
No, we strongly encourage these speakers to do Q&A. We don't typically
Okay,
do it with the keynote, but the rest of them, almost all of them will have a short 5-minute Q&A at the end. So it's really a 25-minute talk with 5 minutes of Q&A. And we highly encourage that for the interaction and the opportunity to be able to ask the speakers questions.
great. And then are the proceedings available after the conference, or do you put those somewhere on your website? How does that work?
Correct. So these are essentially webinars. They're 30-minute mini webinars, and they're maintained online for at least 6 months after the event for on-demand viewing by anybody.
Awesome. Okay, well, what else should people know before I let you go?
Well, I think what's the beauty of this is we have, 30 to 40 talks, and it's one registration landing page. So you can quickly just go down the page and just check off the ones you are interested in. So you don't have to go to all, whatever, 34 I think we have this year. Is you can, check off the ones that you're interested in or interested in your primary work or something you want to learn about. And just check them off and one registration and boom, you're in, and it sends you invites to each one. So you put them on your calendar and, you can attend them either live or on demand. They also
Which,
were giving IEEE continuing education credits.
oh,
So if you
that's a good.
attend, yeah, 2 sessions live, they have to be live. Unfortunately, that's the IEEE rules. 2 sessions or more, you're available for IEEE continuing education credits.
Oh, that's really good. I know people always appreciate when they can get some of those. So, and I've already signed up for 3 or 4 sessions, so I'm
Great.
excited. I'm personally invested in this conference. Where can folks go to sign up for EDI Con, Pat?
Go to edicononline.com, and there's
Oh,
a big registration button right on the homepage.
awesome. Okay, well, for our listeners, I'm going to put that link below for you. And also, I just wanted to thank Pat and thank Signal Integrity Journal for being a sponsor of this podcast. They've been amazing supporters, and they're just generous, lovely contributors to the industry. So if you haven't signed up for a subscription to Signal Integrity Journal, you're not going to get better content than this. So I'll also put that for you below. Pat, thanks so much. I look forward to the conference, and thank you again for supporting this podcast. We look forward to seeing you then.
Oh, thank you for your partnership. It's been a great two-way street, so we enjoy working with you.
Thank you. For our listeners, make sure you go check out in the description in the show notes and get those links. We hope you enjoyed this sneak peek of EDI Con. We'll see you next time. Until then, remember to always stay connected to the ecosystem.